Today I'm going to show you how I created this serene beach scene in watercolor. We're going to cover how to create believable reflections in water, as well as how to paint those shallow, gentle waves as they roll ashore. And stay tuned for other techniques that you can use in future watercolor paintings. The first phase of this painting is to establish the light with a wash. Now this wash is not a continuously wet wash where the entire painting is wet and wet. It's going to be a combination of wet on dry with a movement into wet so that we can establish the lights, the shadows slightly, and I'm going to leave certain areas of the paper white and dry so that I can establish other details later on in the process. So starting with the drawing, I've suggested some shapes of some houses and land as the land curves around the beach, and some curved lines that will suggest the shallow waves as they roll ashore. The colors I'm going to be using are cobalt blue, raw umber, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, a custom green made of cobalt blue, yellow, and burnt sienna, as well as Perylene maroon and Hansa yellow light. First step is to start with the sky, and this is what we're going for. We want some soft colors, a suggestion that the sun is more on the right than the left. I've mixed up cobalt blue and raw umber to make a soft bluish gray. Notice how I'm using a very large brush to lay down these first washes wet on dry. Once I put the color down, one of the things that I do is I will remove some of the pigment, dampen the brush, and then soften those edges so you can get a little bit of a gradient effect on those clouds. Notice also how I'm leaving some areas unpainted. That white paper gives sparkle wherever you are in the painting. Now, here's something that happened. I actually got a little bit of green, but notice how I was able to overpower that green very easily. In fact, I probably could have left it and it would have actually looked nice because it would have pulled some of the green color that we're going to paint later into other parts of the composition, which is a really, really good technique to use. Notice how I have painted up to the edges of the houses. I'm going to leave those alone for now. I'm going back with a darker gray to get a little bit more shadow in those left-hand clouds so I can emphasize the light on the right side of the painting. Even though I'm using a large brush, I'm able to get down to some pretty good detail. I'm avoiding touching the paint into the houses. This is where we are with the sky. It's still wet and we're ready to go on to the next step. Now we're going to paint in the houses and the land. And this is what it will look like after this step. The sky is still wet and I'm using my green, which is cobalt blue, a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of Hansa yellow light. By touching the paint into the sky, those colors will start to bleed and suggest trees in the distance. Again, I'm not painting in the houses. I'm going to leave those alone, and you'll see in a little bit how I handle those. So this is a wonderful skill to try to develop, leaving the white of the paper so that you can emphasize some details that you want the viewer to really see when they're viewing the painting. I'm dropping in some cobalt blue to darken up those trees. I do want to soften the edges of the green against the houses because the foliage will be fuzzy from a distance. Here I'm using a dry brush technique. You can see that the brush is almost horizontal, and so even though the brush is technically not dry, it skims over this texture of the paper and gives a skipping effect so that some of the paper still shows through. Here's something that I like to do is when I want to make sort of a purpley gray, I like to combine cobalt blue and Perylene maroon. Now, Perylene maroon is very intense and can overpower quickly. So when you want to create that kind of a purple color, just remember, just a little goes a long way. This is the beginning of painting the houses by painting in a grayish color. These are the shadows on the houses. I'm going back with cobalt blue to liven up the shadows by using more than one color in the shadow. Even though I'm painting in these details during this wash, I'm not going for perfection because I think that it'll be clear what these are. I've left some white spaces to suggest windows. Now I'm continuing with the land, working down the paper. Working wet and wet really allows the watercolors to blend by themselves on the paper and can give beautiful effects. By adding in some burnt sienna, that'll give the sense that this is late summer. We've just finished the land and foliage. While it's still wet, we're going to paint in the wet sand and reflections. And this is what we're going for. To paint the sand, I wanted to use a light color, and so you'll see that this very, very dilute raw umber went on quite light, which I liked, but I knew it would dry lighter. So I decided that I'm going to go back and make it just a little bit darker so that we don't lose too much value when the painting dries. I started wet on dry and then wet into wet so those colors flow and blend as if it's wet sand. The blue is for reflecting the color of the sky. Even though it's a mostly cloudy sky, you will see blue in reflected water. Notice how as I blend the colors on the paper, I get different colors. What might look blue initially can turn to a violet color. Now here's a mistake that can happen, getting too much pigment on your paper, but you can dilute it. It's really not that big of a problem to solve. This is one of the things about working wet into wet. You have a lot of latitude. Now you can see that you would never have known that I put down such a heavy blob of paint. This Perylene Maroon Cobalt Blue combination is for starting to suggest the reflections of the houses in the wet sand. And I'm tilting my board to make those reflections run more. Now we're in phase 2. We just finished phase 1. We're going to work on the water. Here we are where the water is just plain paper. That's what we want to fill in. And this is where we're headed. The color that I'm using for the blue of the water is Cobalt Blue and Raw Umber. Water, of course, reflects the sky, and the sky being mostly cloudy, we want sort of a grayish color, a grayish blue color to the water. Now I started out with a lot of dry brush, but I felt like it was a little bit disjointed, so I went back and used more water to pull those sections together. Another thing to notice is that I've made the value of the water closer to the viewer a little bit darker, and that means that the value as it moves away from the viewer is lighter and gives a sense of distance. This is what we're going for. This is the final painting, and I'm going to show you what it takes to finalize all the details to make this painting really work. I'm starting with some gray, and now I'm going to put in the details of the houses, starting with the roofs and the shadows from the soffits. By mixing up the Cobalt Blue and Raw Umber fairly thick, I'd say kind of creamy, you can get a nearly black color without using black. Not that I'm against using black, but this is a way that you can do that. In this particular case, I think that this dark gray works better than black because it's a softer color. While working on the houses, I felt like I needed to work a little bit more on the foliage to make sure that all the shapes were connected. The other thing that it does is it makes it look as though the houses are nestled in the foliage, which at a distance, that's how they would look. Now for this house, the separation between the sunlit roof and the sky wasn't clear, so I added more pigment to the sky so we could see that definition of the roof. I'm working with a NicPro size 8. So here's the trick to these gently rolling waves. There actually is a shadow on the wave where the foam is. That's what I'm depicting here. Plus, I'm dragging that color down so you see a little bit of the reflection of the shadow on that foam. This gives a three-dimensional effect and adds to the reflections. Now, I'm not putting it everywhere. It just depends on where the foam is relative to the viewer. Let's review the skills that we went over today. First of all, wet on dry, then wet into wet. Also, leaving the white of the paper, whether it's with a dry brush technique or leaving white shapes for objects that you want to go back and paint later. And finally, the soft reflections in the wet sand. After I was finished with the painting, I did go back and use some wet on dry brush strokes to emphasize those reflections because I thought they were maybe a little too soft. Tell me what you think. If you want to see some more examples on how to paint reflections in water, check out this video.